CBS News White House and senior foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan was there for the briefing in Hamburg, and she joins me now by phone. Margaret, Tillerson addressed the ceasefire in Syria. What can you tell us?
Well, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson announced a ceasefire that he says is an agreement right now on paper. It's been endorsed by Jordan, Russia, and the United States. It would go into effect this weekend and would be in the southwest part of the country. Now, again, it's an agreement on paper. All of it really matters and comes down to what happens on the ground. And the secretary acknowledged that they haven't yet figured out some of the details, including which security forces would be on the ground to monitor and enforce that ceasefire. Some of those details are still being squabbled over, but the secretary said President Trump, Vladimir Putin, and the Russian foreign minister spent a large part of their 2-hour, 15-minute-long meeting discussing the details of this. What we know is that American diplomats over the past few weeks have been negotiating with the Jordanians, consulting with the Israelis and the Russians about how to implement that. The group they're not yet talking about is Iran. And whether or not this succeeds or fails may come down to whether Iran and Russia can agree to make sure that this fighting halts in the southwest. Secretary Tillerson said this is a good first start, and he sees this as a test of whether the U.S. and Russia can work together, not only in Syria, but on other matters of interest to both countries.
The Secretary of State also said that Russia's alleged election meddling did come up, that Mr. Trump pressed Putin on the issue and then accepted assurances that no such meddling took place and that Putin was not personally involved in any attempts. Where does that leave the issue? Is it done and finished with?
Well, the secretary didn't say that President Trump accepted Vladimir Putin's denial, though the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, did tell reporters that was his impression of what happened in the room. So you have two of the top diplomats saying different things about that exchange between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. But what we know is that Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said the reason that was put aside and the rest of the meeting went on is because they want to look at how to go forward. He sees this as an intractable issue that the two sides just won't agree on. He also said that Russia asked for proof for the U.S. to show that they actually could back up the claims that the CIA, the FBI, and other U.S. intelligence agencies have made, which is that they had a high degree of confidence that if there were Russian hackers who were behind this sort of influence campaign to throw the outcome of the 2016 election. What was also interesting, though, was to hear Rex Tillerson, a man who spent years negotiating with Vladimir Putin while he was the CEO of Exxon, describe what he said was some positive chemistry he saw right at the get-go between President Trump and Putin. He said they actually talked for so long that the White House had First Lady Melania Trump try to enter the room and pull him out of the meeting. And despite that, continued to go on for quite a lengthy period. So interesting to have them talk about, not only the relationship being at this Cold War era low, but what they're describing as a very, very positive relationship, despite what he called an intractable disagreement about the election hacking.
And Margaret, any other takeaways, final remarks on the briefing?
Well, we have yet to hear details of the Syria ceasefire. If you remember, under the Obama administration, John Kerry also came to similar agreements with that very same Russian foreign minister. So we will have to see if this time it sticks. But Secretary Tillerson says he thinks the Russians have assessed that it's a new day, it's a new situation, and that the U.S., as he said, is close to defeating ISIS and therefore ready to move on and out of Syria, something that Russia sees as an opportunity here to perhaps work with the U.S. to end the war and broker a political transition. Tillerson insisted that the Trump administration still wants dictator Bashar al-Assad to step down, said he can't continue to run that country, but he had no good answer as to who would take his place or how that would happen.
All right, CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan in Hamburg. Margaret, thank you.
Thank you.